Welcome to the Monk 1 to 80 Skills Guide. In this guide we will cover all of your skills as you train to be the same job for 8 years straight, better than the rest of them, but also hopefully kill your enemies along the way. Watch as you go from this to this. This guide is framed in the mindset of players completely new to Final Fantasy XIV, or the MMO genre in general. In that same vein, this will merely be an overview of the actions and how to use them. Optimal rotations are better left to their own in-depth videos just due to how much complexity is involved in perfect openers and overall rotations. We will, however, be crafting rotations as we go, to help new players understand what goes through creating openers and give them a foothold to push themselves into being able to do it on their own. The goal is to drop players in on the ground level so they can make strides to improve themselves. All tooltips will be shown at the level cap for each section. Level 50 for A Realm Reborn, level 60 for Heavensward, 70 for Stormblood, and then finally at level 80 for Shadowbringers. I also recommend all players add Sprint and Limit Break to their hotbars, both found in the General tab of your Actions menu. And as for how my hotbars build, it'll make sense at 80. Just put skills on your hotbars in a way you feel comfortable using as you're leveling. Everyone has their own way of doing things. With that all out of the way, let's begin. Level 1, Bootshine. A 150 potency hit and an additional effect of changing your form to raptor form for 15 seconds. This is a basic attack for you to do, and the additional effect does nothing until... Level 4, True Strike. An attack of 220 potency or 240 potency when done at the enemy's rear. This is our first example of a positional skill, or skills that have additional effects when striking an enemy from a specific position. The rear of the enemy is displayed via the red area of the diagram shown now. Always aim to hit your positionals. I will be assuming all skills will be hitting their positionals when I compare skills. Do know, however, that you are very unlikely to be hitting positionals when fighting alone. This attack can only be used while in raptor form, which as we saw, is granted by Bootshine. Form-activated skills will be displayed with a glowing border, like so, kind of like combos for other jobs. So we'll want to use Bootshine, and then True Strike. Much like Bootshine, True Strike changes your form, but it does not do anything for us yet. It will when we reach level 6, Snap Punch. An attack with 210 potency, 230 from the target's flank. The flanks are shown here in this diagram. Once again, only usable in a specific form, Coral form, granted from True Strike. The additional effects of Snap Punch are immediately useful to us. The first is changing your form to Obo Obo, which affects Bootshine, giving it a rear positional. If you hit the enemy from the rear, you are guaranteed a critical hit. A critical hit is at a base a 1.4 times multiplier. This essentially makes Bootshine become a 210 potency positional. If you're lucky to have a high crit rate, you don't lose anything on the positional because you'll get a crit anyway, but pretend you can't get a critical hit without hitting the rear positional of an enemy. The other effect of Snap Punch is granting Greased Lightning for 16 seconds. This increases your damage by 10% and reduces your global cooldown and auto attack delay by 5%. We have an entire UI element for this, and it's very important to maintain, but don't expect to be able to maintain it for quite a long time. 16 seconds is very short, and travel times between enemies aren't always short, especially in dungeons. You'll lose your buff, but you'll gain it back quickly since you only have 3 GCDs to get it applied. So now we have a full basic rotation of skills: Bootshine, True Strike, Snap Punch, and repeat. Keep up Greased Lightning as long as you can, and get used to the slight speed increase. One further note, misses will cause your form to not advance. Try not to fight enemies too far above your level, or be ready to need to use the same skill multiple times in a row. At level 8, we get the roll action, Second Wind. I will not be going over your roll actions, but be sure to put them on your hotbars. They're all very useful in their own specific ways. We also get Leg Sweep at level 10, and Bloodbath at level 12. Level 15, Fists of Earth. This skill is not automatically obtained at level 15. That is because it is a quest skill. Not only do class quests give gear, they sometimes give entire skills. If a skill is not automatically unlocked when you hit the level for it, go check your quests. You should be doing these anyway. From now on, I will only be noting on screen when a skill is a quest skill. This is the first of your stances for Monk. Using Fists of Earth applies it to you with no time limit. It reduces all incoming damage by 10%. Just turn it on, no reason not to at this point. Level 18, Twin Snakes. An attack that does 150 potency and 170 from a target's flank. It is only usable under Raptor form and gives curl form much like True Strike. It's also weaker than True Strike, but comes with a 15-second buff, 10% increased damage. Anytime we don't have this buff up, we want to use Twin Snakes instead of True Strike, which will be roughly every other combo. Always alternate True Strike and Twin Snakes. Level 20, Enhanced Greased Lightning. This is a trait, or passive ability. Simply allows us to get 2 stacks of Greased Lightning now, for 20% damage increase and 10% reduced global recast times. It's become even more important to maintain Greased Lightning more than ever. At level 22, we get the roll action, Feint. Level 26, Arm of the Destroyer. This is our first AoE skill. It has a 5 yalm radius and does 80 potency to all enemies hit. In Oppo form, this is boosted to 110 potency, then changes your form to Raptor. Our entry into using AoE is 3 enemies. Aim to keep Greased Lightning going at all times, keeping Twin Snakes up as well. Just replace Bootshine with Arm of the Destroyer when there are 3 enemies or more. Level 30, Demolish. This is our single most powerful skill as a monk. 70 potency or 90 potency from the rear, and a 65 potency damage over time effect, or dot, for 18 seconds. Dots tick on the server tick, or every 3 seconds. Because of this, we can divide the time of the dot by 3 to get 6 ticks of 65 potency, for a total of 390 potency. So in total, this should be doing 480 potency to any enemies this is applied to. On any singular enemy, this will need to be reapplied every 3 combos. This skill is also only usable on Coral form. Does the same thing for your forms, granting Oppo form and a stack of Greased Lightning. As such, use this over Snap Punch at every opportunity, especially if there are multiple enemies. Apply this to every enemy where you can, since it's such a huge boost. Just be sure the enemy will last for the entire duration of the dot for maximum gains. So now seems to be a good time to go into our first basic opener. We're really only missing 1 skill for the rotation that we'll be using all the way up until level 80, so now is a really good time. Bootshine, Twin Snakes, Demolish, Bootshine, True Strike, Snap Punch, Bootshine, Twin Snakes, Snap Punch, Bootshine, True Strike, Snap Punch, Bootshine, Twin Snakes, Demolish, and so on. As I mentioned, we try to use Twin Snakes every other combo, and Demolish every 3, as noted by the colored backgrounds behind each of those skills. Follow the pattern, and eventually it will lead back to the start. You'll also have noticed by now that Monk moves around enemies a lot, but with a tank to hold enemies still, you're dancing around enemies a lot. Get practice because it will only get faster and more hectic as you level. At level 30, you will be able to undertake your first job quest in order to obtain a Soul Stone, as well as your first job action. You must also complete all class quests from your guild. The other requirement is the level 20 main story quest, Self-Management. This takes place soon after joining a grand company. This won't be an issue on normal servers, but any server with preferred status and the Road to 70 buff will likely lead new players to be level 30 long before this story threshold is met. Level 30, Rockbreaker. This is our 3rd Coral form skill and our 2nd AoE. 120 potency to all enemies within 5 yalms, granting Oppo and Greased Lightning stacks. This is weaker than Demolish on up to 4 enemies, breaking even at 480 potency. The benefit is that this is an instant damage ability, so if an enemy will die fast, it's better to use this instead of demolishing every enemy. If enemies are dying fast, we want to use this on 3+ enemies. Slow dying, 4+ to break even against Demolish. At level 32, we get the roll action, Arm's Length. Level 34, Fists of Wind. There's very little reason to use this. It increases your movement speed by I believe 5%, and you cannot stack it with Fists of Earth. In the overworld, you will probably be riding your mount around, negating this boost, and due to being solo, you would prefer to have the increased defense of Fists of Earth. In dungeons, unless you die and have to resurrect at the start, you'll be running at pace with your party, and if a little behind, you have sprint. Plus again, increased defense is better. You might stand in an AoE you should have dodged, or the bosses will do unavoidable raid-wide damage. It's not all too great of a skill. Level 35, Shoulder Tackle. On a cooldown of 30 seconds, this is our first real off-global ability. This is a gap closer of 100 potency. You can use this from a really far distance. Just one more reason Fists of Wind is bad. If you fall behind the party, and there's enemies to attack, you can catch up from a very far away distance in a single button. 100 potency isn't a lot, but it's still free damage. Use this off cooldown once you have Grease Lightning and Twin Snakes applied for maximum gains. If you know you will have to disengage from a boss and want to rush back in though, feel free to save it for the gap closer. Level 40, Fists of Fire. Now we have our important stance. Increases damage by 5%. Turn it on, and never turn it off. Swapping to Earth for defense in the overworld is still effective, but now less so since killing an enemy faster effectively increases your defense too, since a dead enemy can't hurt you. In parties, this is the only stance you should be using. Level 40, Enhanced Grease Lightning II. Level 40 is the power boost level. Now you can do 3 stacks of Grease Lightning for 30% increased damage and 15% reduced global recast times. Be sure to never drop these stacks where you can. This is a huge amount of DPS. Level 42, Mantra. On a 90-second cooldown, Mantra increases heals for everyone within 15 yalms by 10% for 15 seconds. Now this doesn't seem like it's all that useful in dungeons, but it is. 10% healing increases can be really useful to healers, especially if the tank is pulling a lot. Layer in dungeons also have some very heavy hitting bosses, sometimes doing raid-wide attacks that deal over half or even 3/4 of the entire team's health. In 8-man raids, the use of the skill is even more obvious, since those are more attuned to these kinds of skills. Utility is utility. Be sure to help the team by using it. Level 45, Four-point Fury. With this we have an entire set of AoE skills. Only usable in Raptor form, this does 120 potency to all nearby enemies, like all Raptor skills. It changes your form to curl. The big thing about this skill is that it extends the Twin Snakes duration by 10 seconds up to a maximum of 15 seconds, meaning that Twin Snakes is viable for AoE rotations. On our first attacks of an AoE pool, we will want to put up Twin Snakes, then replace all future attacks with Four-point Fury. Once again, AoE will want to ideally start with 3 enemies, 4 or more is where Demolish is overcome. Make heavy use of your AoE rotation on trash pools, especially once tanks start pulling lots of enemies at one time. Armor the Destroyer, Four-point Fury, Rockbreaker, over and over again. Level 50, Perfect Balance. This is our final pugilist skill, and it is a doozy of one. On a 120-second recast timer, this negates all form requirements for 10 seconds. So Bootshine will now always crit from a rear positional, and our Raptor and Curl skills are available and do their effects. When it ends, we'll be back to start with no forms active at all. At the start of a fight, this will be very, very quick in getting you up to speed to 3 stacks of Grease Lightning. We also have time to put up Twin Snakes too. I'll be going more into detail about this after going over our final A Realm Reborn skill. Mid-pull, it allows us to break our rotation. But why would we want to break our rotation? Because of level 50, Dragon Kick. Our final Oppo form skill, 180 potency or 200 potency from the flank. The entire use of this skill is to alternate it with Bootshine for the Oppo form bonus of granting Leaden Fist for 30 seconds. What does Leaden Fist do? It's a new ability for Bootshine. Under Leaden Fist, Bootshine has now increased to an entire 300 potency, and because of the 1.4 base multiplier for crits, it's 420 potency when you get the positional. So now we want to alternate Dragon Kick and Bootshine like we alternate Twin Snakes and True Strike. So here's where Perfect Balance comes in mid-rotation. It will last long enough for us to get 5 GCDs before it runs out. So we will get 2 Dragon Kicks and 2 Bootshines. The 5th hit is for refreshing Grease Lightning with Demolish or Snap Punch. Here, I will refresh Grease Lightning with Demolish, go into Perfect Balance, and use 4 GCDs on Dragon Kick and Bootshine. By the time I get back to Snap Punch afterwards, my timer runs out, so be sure to refresh Grease Lightning with at least one of your Perfect Balance hits. And with this, we have our full main set of skills. As we discussed, the ratio for our combos is 2-2-3. We alternate our Oppo form, alternate our Raptor form, and Demolish is every 3 combos. There are 3 skills in each form, 2 single target and 1 AoE skill. Here's the breakdown on each form and how they loop around into each other for the flow of Monk. Rather than different combos, we have one extremely long combo that goes on until the end of an encounter. Anyway, let's talk about our new opener. I mentioned we can use Perfect Balance in the opener to get us up to speed. Let's go over it now. Pre-pull, Fists of Fire should be on. Then do the following. Perfect Balance, Demolish, Snap Punch, Twin Snakes, Dragon Kick, Shoulder Tackle, Dragon Kick, True Strike, Snap Punch, Bootshine, Twin Snakes, Demolish, and continue on with the flow from there. So we start with Perfect Balance in order to immediately cash in on the benefits. Demolish to get the dot rolling and our first stack of Grease Lightning. This leads into 2 Snap Punches to get us immediately into 3 Grease Lightning stacks. Now we're full speed and full power aside from Twin Snakes, which we will apply next. Now that we're maxed power, we have 1 Perfect Balance GCD left to use, so we use it on Dragon Kick just to get the Leaden Fist and make our first Bootshine 300 potency. From here we use Shoulder Tackle just to make use of its free potency. We then Dragon Kick again as to not waste the Leaden Fist and guarantee the crit on Bootshine. Then we move into just naturally flowing through our rotation. Follow the rules I outlined previously and you should be fine. Have Fists of Fire on, keep up Grease Lightning, keep the 2-2-3 ratio going, Perfect Balance and Tackle off cooldown, and be sure to hit your positionals where possible. Don't die for them though, but do go out of your way to hit them where you can. It's a huge portion of your damage. Just keep hitting your globals the moment you can. At level 50, we get our final roll action, True North. Because Monk is all about positionals, you will love this skill. Feel free to even put it into your openers, in addition to movement-heavy parts of fights. With all of our A Realm Reborn skills, progress towards Heavensward, where you'll be able to obtain more skills. Level 52, Form Shift. This is the I win button of Greased Lightning. This shifts your current form to the next in the sequence. If no form is your current form, it defaults to Oppo. During Curl Form, Form Shift will refresh your Greased Lightning timer, but not gain a stack. This skill is amazing for both before pull and between pulls. Before pull, we can Form Shift up to Curl Form and make our first GCD of a pull be Demolish without having to use Perfect Balance. Between pulls, or in any other downtime in a fight, we can spam Form Shift to never lose Grease Lightning. The nightmare that was Grease Lightning upkeep is now over. Just be ready to still lose it in the moment a cutscene happens, or any mechanics that have extended loss of control for your character. Level 54, Meditation and the Forbidden Chakra. A new UI element has appeared alongside these skills. This is your chakra gauge, displaying how many of your chakra are open. Now as for Meditation, this ability has a very short recast, but does apply the global recast to all abilities. Pressing this will open your chakra. Outside of battle, it will open all 5 chakra at once. In battle, it will only open 1. When all 5 chakra are open, Meditation will change into the Forbidden Chakra. The Forbidden Chakra is an off global that does 370 potency to a target, then immediately sets your chakra back to 0. Basically, mid-pull, we'll never be seeing this skill more than once. Between pulls we can use Meditation once to get it back, but once we start a fight, we'll never touch Meditation unless there is some downtime. The longer the downtime, the more likely we can get a second Forbidden Chakra in, but if there's an enemy to be hit the enemy instead of gaining chakra. This mostly applies to trials and raids, since bosses usually don't jump in dungeons. Only use Forbidden Chakra after you have put up all of your buffs, especially since you only get 1 in a normal fight. Level 56, Elixir Field. On a very short 30-second recast, this is an AoE that does 200 potency to all enemies within 5 yalms of you. Very simply, a good AoE skill. Use it on big groups of enemies where you can, but don't shy away from using it on single targets either. The cooldown is very short, so it's meant to be used very often. Once again, get your buffs up first, then pop it. Try and be in the middle of enemy packs to maximize the number of enemies hit. Level 60, Tornado Kick. This skill is bad. A potency of 430, can only be used when at 3 Grease Lightning stacks, and is on a 10-second recast timer. The failing point of this skill is that it removes your stacks of Grease Lightning. Losing your stacks of Grease Lightning is bad under normal circumstances, and it's just as bad here. The only time I would recommend using this skill is moments you're guaranteed to lose Grease Lightning. Examples of this are large stuns that you lose control of your character anyway, right before a cutscene mid-fight, or the finishing blow on a boss. Sacrificing Grease Lightning is just the worst move you can make unless you have absolutely no choice. It's really bad, but still does deserve a place on your hotbar for those rare cases. Just be wary that timing Tornado Kick is difficult. Too late and it doesn't even do anything. Too early and you're stuck with no Grease Lightning for several globals, so be ready to commit to your choice. So ultimately not much new for our opener. Form Shift makes a great utility though, and we'll have 2 extra off-global attacks to fit in, so let's put this all into our new opener. Pre-pull, Fists of Fire, Meditation, and Form Shift into Curl form, then do the following. Demolish, Perfect Balance, Snap Punch, Twin Snakes, Dragon Kick, Elixir Field, Bootshine, Shoulder Tackle, Dragon Kick, the Forbidden Chakra, True Strike, Demolish, and then just naturally flow through our rotation like normal. So, like before, we start with Demolish, but thanks to Form Shift we get it without wasting it on Perfect Balance. Then we get into Perfect Balance immediately after, and follow the same GCD order as before. 2 Snap Punches to get Grease Lightning 3, then Twin Snakes to get it on, and Dragon Kick for a Leaden Fist. Then we use Elixir Field before Shoulder Tackle since it's a lot stronger of a hit for the same cooldown length. So with our buffs all applied, we can use it here. Because of Form Shift, we have an extra GCD from Perfect Balance to spend. We won't need to refresh Grease Lightning for a while, so we just revert to our mid-pull use of it, alternating Dragon Kick and Bootshine. As a result, we end up doing a Dragon Kick with no form up afterwards, as with no form, it is stronger than a no form Bootshine. We use Tackle after the crit Bootshine just to get the cooldown rolling, and that's about all for that. The Forbidden Chakra comes last just because we'll only ever get this single one out without major boss disengagement, so we're in no rush to spend it. The other change we made is the second use of Demolish. We clip our dot by about 3 seconds, which is normally a very bad idea, but it's only one tick of the dot we will lose, and we replace it with a Demolish with plus 43% damage the first application didn't have. From there, we just casually flow through our rotation as normal, use stuff off cooldown, and keep the 2-2-3 ratio going. And don't touch Tornado Kick, please. Level 62, Deep Meditation. This trait massively buffs meditation. A critical hit will give you a 50% chance of opening one of your chakra. On average, this means every 10 critical hits is an extra use of the Forbidden Chakra. It's now important to spend our Forbidden Chakra the moment they come up. If we don't, we might lose uses of it later down the road. This also makes the positional for Bootshine even more important too, since it is a guaranteed critical hit. There are cases to hold on to Chakra, but that's more min-maxing than normal play. In general, spend your Chakra as soon as it caps, or only hold it for 1 to 2 GCDs, especially if you're about to get the level 68 ability off cooldown. Level 64, Riddle of Earth. This is a weird one. On a 60-second recast, it lasts for 30 seconds, which means you have this buff active extremely often. The effects of it are only applied if you take damage, and the effects are a mixed bag. The first is increasing the duration of Grease Lightning to max. You're probably already doing that with Form Shift, or attacking the enemy. The second effect is a lot better though. Earth's Reply will give 10% reduced damage, and removes all positional requirements for a whole 30 seconds. This is huge, especially for solo play. Unfortunately, in normal content, raid-wide damage often comes in slower than 30 seconds apart, so the 10% damage mitigation isn't as effective as it could be. In higher level content though, this mitigation sees tons of use. But if for no other reasons, use this still extremely often, since negating positionals is huge when every global you do is a positional. Level 66, Enhanced Tackle. This turns Tackle into a skill with charges. They work the same as normal cooldowns but can accumulate multiple uses. Shoulder Tackle can now have 2 stacks at one time. It's not that great a trait, but at least now we have 2 gap closers. Level 68, Riddle of Fire. This is a very simple but effective ability. On a 90-second recast, you get 20 seconds of 25% increased damage, which is pretty hefty increase on top of the Grease Lightning and Twin Snakes damage. It's also multiplicative, not additive, so you're nearly a 1.8 times multiplier while in Riddle of Fire. Get your other buffs up first, then pop into Riddle of Fire and get spamming all of your attacks as quick as you can. Also be sure to use this for AoE. You will melt packs of enemies for the duration of this buff. Level 70, Brotherhood. This one is even stronger than Riddle of Fire in the right party compositions. On the same 90-second recast, this grants everyone within 15 yalms, including yourself, Brotherhood, and Meditative Brotherhood for 15 seconds. Brotherhood is a simple 5% physical damage boost, which unfortunately means your mage and healer party members cannot make much use of this. Meditative Brotherhood gives every single weapon skill used by everyone affected by this 30% chance to open one of your chakra. Once again, mages and healers won't make use of this. This essentially means all physical party members are pouring their energies into you, massively increasing your chakra gains, especially if your party is mostly physical fighters. Just like Riddle of Fire, use it once you have all of your buffs up. So our new opener has had a few major buffs added to it, but overall the rotation remains about the same. Let's look at it now. Pre-pull, Fists of Fire, Meditation, and Form Shift to Curl Form. Then do the following: Shoulder Tackle, Demolish, Perfect Balance, Snap Punch, Twin Snakes, Riddle of Fire, Dragon Kick, Brotherhood, Forbidden Chakra, Bootshine, Elixir Field, Dragon Kick, Shoulder Tackle, True Strike, Demolish, and then just naturally flow through our rotation like normal. So with a second stack of Shoulder Tackle, we can spend one just to gap close into the boss as the tank pulls, while also starting the cooldown. As we go through our GCD rotation, everything is done the same as our previous opener. So we start going through that until Twin Snakes, where we now use Riddle of Fire to boost our power up even further beyond, in time to spend all of our other stuff. After Dragon Kick, we Brotherhood and Forbidden Chakra to build up a lot of Chakra and ensure we have the Chakra spent. From here, it's simply using Elixir Field and Shoulder Tackle to get them under Riddle of Fire. Elixir remains the first one, only because it is stronger. Hopefully by now you've gotten used to the speedy nature of Monk and the dance of positionals, because things are about to get a lot faster. Level 72, Enhanced Fists of Fire. I really don't know why this trait exists. Fists of Fire damage increases to 10% instead of 5%. We'll see why I don't get it soon. Level 74, Deep Meditation II. A big boost to Chakra, up from 50%, we now have a 70% chance to get Chakra from a critical hit. Make sure to spend your Chakra as soon as you get 5 stacks open, because you will be gaining a lot of them now. Level 74, Enlightenment. Much more important to this level is an AoE Chakra skill, 220 potency to all enemies hit in a line in front of you. This is a very big AoE too, going 10 yoms in front of you. It has all the same requirements as Forbidden Chakra, while not being much weaker. On as few as 2 enemies, this is a better hit. So unless you're fighting just a single enemy, use this every time it comes up. Side note, Meditation is still the button that turns into Forbidden Chakra. Enlightenment is its own button. Level 76, Riddle of Wind. This is why Enhanced Fists of Fire doesn't need to exist. You can now gain a 4th stack of Grease Lightning, but only within Fists of Wind. This puts us at a total of 40% increased damage and 20% reduced global recast times. That extra 5% recast speed is enough to mean we'll never want to be in Fists of Fire except for the very start of a fight. Once you're at 3 stacks, you want to swap to Fists of Wind to be able to get Grease Lightning 4. Follow the same rules you've always been following, but be sure to get the Grease Lightning 4 as soon as you can. The extra speed might also cause you to run into a little bit of trouble. It doesn't seem like much more speed, but it's really significant difference. It might take some time for you to get used to it, but you will adjust in time. Level 78, Anatman. This is both the best and worst skill Monk could have gotten. There is a lot to break down here, so let's start with the basic effects. Anatman is on a 60-second cooldown and lasts for 30 seconds. To start, this is an ability, but it is affected by the global cooldown. It also activates the global cooldown upon using it. Once you go into it, your auto attacks stop and you have become immobile. Any amount of movement, turning, or actual movement will end Anatman, so be ready to stop all actions. So, once Anatman is activated, we are now stopped, and so is our Grease Lightning timer. This is a pause button for us, but also will slowly begin to earn us more stacks of Grease Lightning up to our cap, and refreshes the time limit to max when we gain a stack. This effect also only occurs in combat. Outside of combat, Anatman does nothing. Now, for its uses. Obviously, because we have to stop attacking, we don't really want to use this while fighting. We can, however, use it when bosses become untargetable for long durations instead of spamming Form Shift over and over. Though, depending on the jump, you may need to use both. It may be longer than 30 seconds, or it may involve a lot of movement. We can also use the skill to make Tornado Kick become slightly more usable. Because we gain stacks of Grease Lightning, we can use Tornado Kick right before a boss jumps and becomes untargetable. Then during the downtime, use Anatman to get back to maximum stacks. Unfortunately, not a lot of extra damage, but it does help. Just be careful not to use Tornado Kick in a situation you can't get all of your stacks back before you have to start fighting again. One other note, Anatman works on the server tick, just like dots, so you will gain stacks and refresh the timer every 3 seconds. Using this skill effectively will take a lot of practice. Level 80, Six-sided Star. This skill does 400 potency, but has double the cooldown of all other weapon skills. In essence, we can translate this to only 200 potency during normal rotations. But this is not where we want to use it. There are only two cases where we do want to use it. The first is short moments of downtime. For example, here is a late game boss that does a giant AoE that forces you to the edge of the arena. In total, I am unable to hit the boss for around 4 seconds, which means if I had used Six-sided Star, I would have spent most of the cooldown out of range and would have gained some damage. Put simply, anytime you will lose a GCD or more from being out of range of a boss, use Six-sided Star before running away from the boss. This, however, will be an extremely rare thing to do. A thing I see a lot of newbies do is as a melee, leave the boss the moment they get any kind of AoE on them. Do not leave the boss, stay close and keep attacking unless there is actually no other option. The other time we want to use this skill is any time immediately before we will use Tornado Kick. Because we're going to Tornado Kick only when bosses will become untargetable for a long enough period of time to Anatman back to maximum stacks, we might as well proceed it with a powerful skill right before the boss leaves. Timing Tornado Kick properly is difficult enough in itself. Timing both of these in a row is even more difficult and even more punishing than before. Be absolutely sure of your actions when you hit these buttons. Alright, so the only change in the opener I will go over is caused by Riddle of Wind. I would, however, be neglectful if I did not at least mention the Anatman opener. What Anatman opener does is purposefully use Anatman early enough in the rotation to get a Grease Lightning stack out of it. The issue is, as I mentioned, Anatman is on the server tick. Without knowing exactly when the server tick happens, you could lose valuable rotation time. For normal play, I cannot in good conscience recommend this opener in the slightest within the scope of this guide. It was at least worth mentioning, if just to remind everyone that there is always room to improve far beyond the scope of this guide. So, let's get to the opener I would actually recommend you follow. Pre-pull, Fists of Fire, Meditation, and Form Shift into Curl form, then do the following: Shoulder Tackle, Demolish, Perfect Balance, Snap Punch, Twin Snakes, Fists of Wind, Riddle of Fire, Demolish, Brotherhood, Forbidden Chakra, Dragon Kick, Elixir Field, Dragon Kick, Shoulder Tackle, True Strike, Snap Punch, and then start flowing through our rotation using OGCDs when we have buffs or on cooldown. Despite the fact that we have Riddle of Wind, we will start in Fists of Fire since we can easily swap to Fists of Wind later. Get in some decent games by waiting for this swap until the last moment, but they aren't huge compared to other things we have been doing. We otherwise follow the same pattern as before until we hit 3 Grease Lightning stacks. We go into Twin Snakes for the 10% buff, then drop to Fists of Wind, and putting up Riddle of Fire to refresh Demolish and a full set of raid buffs, as everyone else will also be using their big skills too, further buffing your Demolish. After Demolish, we put up Brotherhood to buff up our physical friends and start building our Chakra, spending it here too with Forbidden Chakra. With Perfect Balance still up, we have time for one more GCD, which we will use on Dragon Kick to get Leaden Fist. We lead into Elixir Field just to spend it and get the damage out under all of our buffs. Then Dragon Kick again, just to make sure we don't waste our Leaden Fist. Like before, we're waiting for Opal form to get the guaranteed crit on Bootshine when we use Leaden Fist. From this point on, it's the same old flow for monks. Perform our global rotation to maximum effect and use our off globals as they come up. Ultimately, monk is pretty simple and is just really fast with a heavy emphasis on positionals, and gets a little hectic when we have all of our OGCDs up. Just keep following the flow and don't stop hitting the boss as you dance around it for positionals. Thank you for watching my Monk 1 to 80 skills guide. Feel free to give feedback or ask questions on what might still be confusing to you. My goal is to help players improve in whatever ways I can. Take care, and have fun in your adventures across Eorzea. May the power of an Nidhogg lay waste to your enemies.